Welcome back. You're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. More and more states are looking at how to improve trade and investment, especially with dwindling resources coming into them from the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee. So the best way to improve revenue is to look inwards and see what you can do. Now, this week, Ogun State actually held a 3-day conference, a national conference on trade and investment, looking very critically at some of the key issues that can boost trade and investment, among other issues. I have here with me on the program now the Commissioner for Commerce and Industry in Ogun State, Mr. Bimbo Ashiru. He'll be talking to us about the highlights of this 3-day conference. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me here.
So give us the highlights of this conference for this week. It was the 8th? That was held.
Yes, the 8th one, yes. Actually, we had the 7th one in Makurdi, that was in 2014. And then what we did is to be able to come together. There's the National Council for Industry, Trade and Investment, where you have all the Minister of Investment and Trade and Investment himself, the Minister of State, all the permanent secretaries, all the commissioners of all the states of the Federation. So we all came together to see how we can improve on the economy of the country. And there were 63 memos that were considered. And then we actually threw it down to about 60 memos. And we now have 4 agendas to focus on. And those 4 points are diversification and growth of Nigerian economy, the creating of enabling environment, and trade facilitation, domestic trade promotion, and then finally development of micro, small, medium and scale industries, because the enterprise rather. So what we found out is that those are the only ways we can drive the economy of this country. I mean, diversification, we were so bogged down on the oil thing. And we said, look, before the advent of oil, we have our Greek, we have our cocoa, we have our palm kernel, we have our rubber that we're using to drive the economy. So how did we get there? I mean, if during the time we have the oil, the advent of oil, and we still focused on our primary things, which is agriculture, we will not be where we are today. So now, what we are saying is that how do we diversify? How do we protect our local industries? How do we take the value chain proposition of agriculture that leads into the system? So those are the things we are focusing on. We're a country that is blessed with a lot of mineral and natural resources. So how can we now take advantage of that? Because we need to create wealth, we need to create jobs for our 3 young ones. We need to ensure that this country is moving forward, and it's very key.
One of the main issues I know a lot of companies face, and we've had this conversation before here on the program, is the issue of taxation. So was that also discussed at this particular
conference?
It
was discussed, because see, most of these companies, they had issues with, I mean, they want to know how much are they going to pay in a year. I mean, we want to, in Ogun State, for example, we have streamlined it and we've unified our taxation system. So you can't see anybody coming in putting all those spikes on the road. No, not anymore. What we've been able to do is to look at what, I mean, see, there are some there are some tax here you need to pay. I mean, the VAT you need to pay, the income tax you need to pay that. And the tax that are due to be paid, I mean, the tax you pay, I mean, for your business, you need to pay that. But what we're saying is that we are not going to take advantage of you as a business and start charging unnecessary taxes. No. And that's the reason why we have a lot of inflow of industries in Ogun State in the last 5 years.
Well, that's one marketing gimmick that I'm not going to allow you to do on my program, Mr. Ashiru, because you see the truth of the matter, and on a much more, serious note, taking a look at that particular issue of taxation, that's one issue that a lot of companies constantly complain about, and that's why most of them had to close business, because they didn't have so much to continue to pay taxes. And so if industry practitioners and if commissioners such as yourself sat down to talk about this very key issue, it's not just for one state alone to promote it. As industry practitioners and everybody sat down, what was decided in terms of submission, in terms of conclusions and action plans reached in this regard?
Let me correct something. You can't say because of taxation companies close shops.
Well, that's one of the main reasons.
Most of the companies that are complaining, they're actually complaining about not being able to get foreign exchange to bring in their raw materials. And I always tell people that, look, we must get to a level in this country whereby we are a country that is endowed. We must be an export-dependent economy, not import-dependent economy. And secondly, I want to tell you this. Now, people have now started the issue of diversification. Most of the things we spoke about, creating a new environment, taxation is part of it, but I mean, business premises is part of it, approval is part of it. So those are the things that we looked at and said, how do we make it seamless for a single investor that comes in? And what I'm trying to tell you here is that we now need to get to this level whereby when you produce, I'll give you a good example. We visited a company with the Minister of State on Wednesday, and we found out that this company happens to be the largest exporter of assessment sheets in this country. So what I'm saying basically is that, and they earn a lot of foreign exchange. If we now look at opportunity of making all these products and start exporting them, you take, for example, I always tell people this, that before you start exporting goods, you must be able to make sure that you meet the local needs, local consumption, so that people will not be suffering by you exporting those things. But I've also said that once you meet the local needs and you're able to export those things out of this country, the first thing is that you must be able to earn those foreign exchange and use them to buy your raw materials. If you remember those days, barley used to be imported into this country, but now companies look for alternative, which is sorghum, and now sorghum is being used as alternative to barley. So what I'm saying in essence is that if people pull down to start, I don't agree with that. What I'm saying basically is that you must be able to look at other alternative ways of doing business in order to achieve your goals and objectives.
Do we have enough policies to promote domestic trade in Nigeria and ensure trade facilitation? Because that's one of the things.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things we agreed. Yes, those are the things. You see, let me tell you, most of the things we agreed upon on Wednesday when we closed is all these policies in order to facilitate, trade, domestic trade. We need to promote that. And how do you promote that? You need to protect our local industries. And luckily for us, the communique we agreed upon is going to be given to the Council of States, the ministers. Luckily the minister is a member of the Federal Executive Council. Is going to be presented there. Then the Governors Forum is going to be presented there. And luckily, the president, the vice president came to do the opening ceremony. He presented a beautiful paper. The former President Obasanjo was there. He summarized everything, did a good presentation, because we all know the problems. And Obasanjo's problem is, he was talking about facilitation of trade. That we must ensure that we facilitate this trade. We must be able to encourage trading between our domestic and international. And the domestic trade, we need to protect our local industries. If you don't protect our local industries, you're going to have problems. I mentioned to some people that some of these industries were in existence when we were growing up. But because, it gets to this level whereby imported raw materials, imported goods is cheaper than made in Nigeria goods. So we need to look at how do we encourage that production of goods and services in Nigeria is cheaper than goods that are. So it will discourage importation of goods into this country. So most of the things we agreed upon is that even with the Council of States, the ministers, the governors and everything, once these are presented, it will become a great policy in order to facilitate our trading, promoting our trading locally, domestically.
Well, some have also complained that in order to to improve the ease of doing business, some from the diaspora have been sidelined. What do you make of this?
I will tell you this: the ease of doing business. You see, we just got a report now. Nigeria is number 169. We still maintain the same number, which is wrong. There's no reason why we cannot be one of the first 100 in the country. The people in diaspora, they complain that it is sidelined. Even the commissioners complain, and one of the communiques that we must ensure that commissioners are made to be part of the presidential policy making in terms of ease of doing business.
So before now, the commissioners were not,
because the committees that were sort of commissioners were not there. And I said it that federal government, they don't sell lands. You can't sell lands to investors. So we commissioners are the ones that will be able to go there. We are the ones that will meet investors. We need to agree on the SLAs, the service level agreement, that when somebody walks in as an investor into your state, how long will it take the person to get the CFO? Because let me be honest with you, banks will not give any any company money if they are taking loans from them if they don't have the title documents, if they don't have the right documents. So what we're trying to say is that involve the commissioners. I'm not saying the 36 state commissioners. Those are the things we presented. At least maybe one from each political zone, with the 6 of us, 6 of them. So let them be part of this committee so that they can now go and cascade this down to their states. Because for example, during this council meeting, we're able to compare. We have peer comparison. We're asking, how did people do it in Ogun State? How were you, we're able to tell them how we're able to achieve this. And those are the things that the issue of ease of doing business, we can only achieve it if we involve all the state commissioners, so that they will know. They'll be able to tell you the problems, because investors are not going to go to Abuja to invest there. Yeah, they can go to NIPC, they can go to the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Trade and Investment, but they need to send them down to states, and we'll be able to send them to states that are investors friendly. So it's very, very key. So what we're saying in essence is that we must ensure that these people, the people in diaspora too, we are trying to encourage them to fill that in, because you can go on the internet, on the portal, to be able to access this. Even we took CAC on, and we were told that within 24 hours you can register your business, which is very key. Before it takes, for example, in Ogun State, for example, business permit used to take about 6 weeks. Within 24 hours now, which is in my ministry, you can get it done. So these are the things that we are doing to encourage trades and the ease of doing business, because it's very key. Once we get that one done, there's no reason why we can't be one of the first 100.
Which means that Ogun State has actually fit into the national trade agenda.
Oh, we have. Because if you remember vividly, we're number 35 in terms of doing business, and we are one of the first 5 now in the country. Because I'm talking about in total. But what I'm saying is that I remember the governor called me recently and said, look, we must not go below 5. The best thing is we must be probably number 1. We should be aiming at number 1. So what I'm saying is that we cannot afford to drop the ball.
So what are you doing to make sure that you remain above?
We meet regularly. We see all the stakeholders, because you see, one man person cannot make we must make sure that we meet on a regular basis to discuss areas where business permit issues. What are you doing about that? How do we ensure that all these people, when they come in, is being sorted out, get necessary approval, and then all the areas, the parameters that we know that we're a bit low, we want to move up there, so that we can ensure that things are done properly. So we meet even the court registrar, the CAC, the tax people. We meet regularly, because if you don't meet regularly, you can't achieve this, and it's very key.
So you're also now competing with Lagos for oil and gas sector, in the oil and gas sector, with a new refinery expected to come on, which is being planned. Is Ogun State looking for oil? Well,
don't forget that we have Olokula, and many people have indicated interest. Refineries are coming in. They wanted to invest
that's there. Gas anyway.
Yes, yes, because you see, you can have even fertilizer company there. Fertilizers companies are going, and that's the biggest seaport. So many people are interested in it, and we started talking. It's billions of dollars investment, and it's not a child's play. So what we're ensuring is that we are looking at genuine investors who are willing to invest in, because we've had so many people coming in. They will come in, talk to us, they go back, they can't. But what we're saying is that even from America, many people from America have even indicated interest in that. And I think very soon you start seeing how Ogun State will, because generally once that thing comes alive, you are guaranteed minimum of 10,000 jobs immediately. So we are ensuring. And Lagos State, yes, they've got that. They have their own. They are doing their own. But we, in Ogun State, you can be rest assured that very soon we will announce our own.
But you see, in terms of looking for more revenue, you also have to remember that the communities need to be protected. And so while signing the MOUs with these companies, what will you be looking at in terms of protection of the communities, host communities?
I will tell you this. In Ogun State, we have one principle. You must be able to be responsible to the community where you are operating. We call it CSR. Do you get my point? So what I'm saying is that if you are not doing something for the community, you are not going to have peace. And what we are trying to do is to ensure that, if you see, we just promulgate a law about the so-called omoliles, they come in. The law is about 25 years imprisonment if you start, because we believe that when these people come in, they will protect and take care of their community. I always tell people that in CSR, for a good entrepreneur to see the kingdom of heaven, they must be socially responsible. And as a state government, we are socially responsible to our community. We are ensuring that our community are taken care of. Even jobs, terms of jobs. We have a form that we give to investors and tell them that, look, if you fill this form, we want to know how many the expatriates you have, how many local people you have, and what are your plans to ensure that the local people take over from these people. So those are the things we do, and our communities are well protected. You can be rest assured of that.
So today is the last day of for this week, but we've got just like a few hours, 72 hours, and they're about to end the month of October, and then before you know it, the year has ended. What do you expect in the next coming months?
I will tell you this. For example, we are working on our budget. We just had a town hall meeting last week, Wednesday, because we want to have the inputs of our people, the good people of Ogun State, on how we are going to see. What we try to do is to ensure that we put people, budget for next year. We started making preparation for that, and we want to have an input on that. And I've also said that with what we've done with the Council of States, we have Council of Industry, Trade and Investment, we are thinking of how we are going to, I hope and I believe that once this thing is presented and is approved, we'll start running. And by January, God on our side, we'll be able to achieve most of these 4 points we have planned to do, development of micro, small scale. And I believe that over time, by the time we look at the things we are going to do in this country, we achieve a lot.
Bimbo Ashiru, Commissioner for Commerce and Industry with Ogun State, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you again for having me.
Business Morning continues in just a moment. Stay with us.